Admiral Crix-9 stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue dot that was Earth grow larger on the main screen. Behind him, 500 massive warships followed in perfect formation. Each ship could destroy a planet by itself. Together, they were the largest invasion force the Zephyrian Empire had ever sent. "Admiral, we are receiving the final transmission from Emperor Valdric," announced his communications officer. The hologram of Emperor Valdric appeared in the center of the bridge. His purple skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his four arms moved as he spoke with authority. "Admiral Crix-9, you have your orders. These humans have spread to 3 star systems without our permission. They think they can ignore the might of the Zephyrian Empire. Show them how wrong they are." Crix-9 bowed his head. "Yes, my Emperor. The human worlds will be under our control within 1 day." "Good. Our intelligence reports show they are primitives. They still use chemical rockets and basic nuclear power. Their weapons are crude metal projectiles. This should be easy work." Metal projectiles. Well, the hologram disappeared, leaving Crix-9 alone with his thoughts. He looked at the datapad in his hand. The human home world, called Earth, had only been discovered 50 years ago. Since then, the humans had somehow managed to settle 2 nearby star systems. This was not allowed. The Zephyrian Empire controlled this part of the galaxy, and no species could expand without permission. "Fleet Commander Thos, report on our target analysis," Crix-9 ordered. Thos, a younger officer with bright green eyes, stepped forward. "Sir, our scouts confirm the intelligence reports. Earth shows no signs of advanced defensive systems. We detect no energy shields around their planet, no massive space stations, no orbital weapon platforms. What about their military ships?" "Primitive, sir. Small craft that burn chemical fuel. They appear to have no faster-than-light weapons. Their largest ships are barely the size of our fighter craft." Crix-9 nodded. This would indeed be easy. The humans had somehow learned to travel between stars, but they had not learned how to defend themselves properly. It was almost sad. "Sir, we are detecting some unusual readings from the outer system," reported the sensor officer. "What kind of readings?" "Small objects scattered through the asteroid belt. They appear to be mining equipment or research stations. Nothing that poses a threat." "Known." Crix-9 dismissed this with a wave. Humans were known to be curious about everything. Of course, they would have equipment studying rocks in space. The Admiral walked to his command chair and activated the fleet communication system. 500 ship captains appeared on smaller screens around him. "Captains, we begin the final approach to Earth. Remember, Emperor Valdric wants this to send a message to other species. Make the attack visible and dramatic. Let the humans see our ships coming. Let them know the power of the Zephyrian Empire before they die." The captains acknowledged the order and closed their connections. Crix-9 felt satisfaction. His career had been built on successful conquests. He had personally led the invasions of 12 different worlds. Each time, the result was the same. Superior Zephyrian technology overwhelmed primitive defenses. "Time to weapon range?" he asked. 17 minutes, sir," replied the weapons officer. Crix-9 studied the tactical display. Earth sat alone in space, seemingly helpless. A few small ships moved around the planet, but nothing that could challenge even one of his warships. The humans had space stations near their moon, but these looked like research facilities, not military bases. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," announced the communications officer. "Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. The creature had pale skin and dark hair. It spoke in the common galactic language. "Zephyrian Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You are approaching our system with obvious hostile intent. Please change course immediately. We do not wish conflict with your people." Crix-9 laughed. "Earth Defense Command? What defense? I see no defense." The human on the screen remained calm. "Admiral, we are asking you one final time. Turn your ships around and leave our system. We do not want to fight, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." "With what?" Crix-9 stood up. "Your chemical rockets? Your metal bullets? Human, you are about to learn why the Zephyrian Empire rules this part of the galaxy." The transmission ended. The human had simply closed the connection. "Arrogant creatures," muttered Thos. "They act as if they have some secret weapon." "All species act brave when facing death," Crix-9 replied. "It makes them feel better about their fate." The minutes passed slowly. Crix-9 watched Earth grow larger on his screen. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space. Soon, it would be burning. "Sir, we are now entering their inner system," reported the navigation officer. "Excellent. Begin charging main weapons. Target their major cities first." "Weapons charging, sir. We will have full power in 30 seconds." Crix-9 smiled. Another easy victory for his record. Another primitive species that had tried to challenge the Empire and failed. He wondered if the humans would surrender quickly or fight uselessly until the end. "Sir, I am detecting some kind of energy field building around our ships," the sensor officer called out with concern. "What kind of energy field?" "Unknown, sir. It appears to be coming from those small objects in the asteroid belt." "Impossible. Those are mining stations." "Sir, the energy readings are increasing rapidly." Crix-9 felt his first moment of worry. "Raise shields. All ships. Maximum defensive power." But it was too late. The last thing Admiral Crix-9 saw was his own ship beginning to dissolve around him. The mighty Zephyrian invasion fleet had walked into a trap that had been waiting for them for 50 years. The humans had been ready. Captain Lee Min-jun watched the tactical display from his command center deep inside Luna Base. 500 red dots moved steadily toward Earth, each representing a Zephyrian warship capable of destroying entire cities. Around him, dozens of technicians monitored systems that most of the galaxy didn't even know existed. "Captain, the alien fleet has crossed the outer marker," reported Lieutenant Park Jae-hun from his console. "All spec mines are showing green status." "Acknowledged." Lee Min-jun's voice was calm, but his heart raced. 50 years of preparation were about to be tested in the next few minutes. Dr. Kim So-young approached his command chair, her white lab coat contrasting sharply with the military uniforms around her. As the chief scientist of the Sol Defense Project, she had spent most of her life designing this moment. "Captain, are you certain about this? Once we activate the system, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we're capable of." Lee Min-jun nodded. "Doctor, they came here to destroy us. They ignored our peaceful requests to leave. What choice do we have?" Kim So-young had been 25 when the first alien contact was made. A Zephyrian scout ship had approached Earth, scanned the planet, and left without making contact. Earth's governments had quickly realized that first contact would probably not be peaceful. The scout ship's behavior suggested they were being evaluated as a target, not as potential friends. That realization had changed everything. Instead of announcing alien contact to the public and causing panic, Earth's leaders had quietly begun the largest defense project in human history. "Doctor, explain to me one more time how the spec system works," Park Jae-hyun requested from his station. Even after years of training, some of the technology still seemed like magic to him. Kim So-young moved to the main display. "Each spec mine is smaller than a grain of rice. We've scattered millions of them throughout the asteroid belt and around key points in the solar system. They're designed to look like space dust or tiny pieces of rock." She pointed to a diagram on the screen. "When activated, each mine creates a quantum field that destabilizes molecular bonds in any artificial material within a certain range. Natural substances like asteroids or comets are unaffected, but spacecraft, weapons, even spacesuits will simply fall apart at the atomic level." And the aliens can't detect them? The mines are completely passive until activation. They don't emit any energy that normal sensors can pick up. To anyone scanning our system, they just look like cosmic debris. Lee Min-jun had studied the psychology reports on the Zephyrian Empire. They were conquerors, who relied on overwhelming force and technological superiority. They expected their enemies to meet them with visible defenses. Massive space stations, energy shields, fleets of warships. The idea of invisible, distributed defenses had never occurred to them. Captain, the alien fleet is now passing through the main asteroid belt, Park Jae-hyun reported. They're maintaining formation and heading directly for Earth. Any response to our final warning? Negative, sir. Their admiral seemed to find our message amusing. There isn't now. Lee Min-jun wasn't surprised. The Zephyrians had conquered 12 different worlds using the same tactics. Arrive with overwhelming force. Demand surrender. Destroy anyone who resisted. It had worked every time before. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Defense Command, announced the communications officer. Put it through. The face of Admiral Sarah Chen appeared on the screen. As Earth's highest military commander, she was coordinating the defense from her bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean. Captain Lee, the civilian population has been moved to shelters as planned. All orbital stations are reporting minimal crew aboard. Are you ready to proceed? End quote. Yes, Admiral. All systems are green. Then God help us all. You are authorized to activate Sol defense. The connection ended. Lee Min-jun looked around his command center. Every person here had volunteered for this duty, knowing they might not survive if the defense failed. Earth's entire future depended on technology that had never been tested in real combat. Dr. Kim, are you certain the spec mines will work as designed? Captain, we've run thousands of computer simulations and small-scale tests. The theory is sound. But, she paused, we've never tested it on this scale before. Park, what's the status on the alien fleet? They're charging weapons, sir. Looks like they plan to attack as soon as they reach optimal firing range. Lee Min-jun made his decision. All stations. This is Captain Lee. Activate Sol Defense. Repeat. Activate Sol Defense. Park Jae-hyun's hands moved over his controls. Sending activation signal to all spec mines. Signal transmitted. Mines are coming online now. On the main display, the solar system suddenly came alive with millions of tiny lights as the spec mines received their activation codes. Time to effect? Lee Min-jun asked. Quantum field generation will reach the alien fleet in 15 seconds, Kim So-young replied, watching her instruments carefully. The seconds crawled by. 500 Zephyrian warships continued their approach, completely unaware that their doom was already spreading toward them at the speed of light. Field contact in 3, 2, 1. Contact. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The red dots on the tactical display continued moving forward. Then, one by one, they began to disappear. Captain, I'm reading massive structural failures throughout the alien fleet, Park Jae-hyun reported, his voice filled with amazement. Their ships they're coming apart. How long until complete fleet neutralization? Lee Min-jun asked. Kim So-young checked her readings. At current rate of molecular destabilization, 23 more seconds. Lee Min-jun watched in silence as the most powerful invasion force in Zephyrian history simply dissolved into cosmic dust. No explosions, no dramatic battles. 500 warships and their crews became scattered atoms in the space of 37 seconds. When it was over, the solar system was quiet again. Captain, I'm detecting one small object moving away from the battle area at high speed, Park Jae-hyun reported. It appears to be An escape pod. Let it go, Li Minjun ordered. Someone needs to tell the galaxy what happened here. Emperor Valdric stood in his throne room, staring at the communication device in disbelief. The message had arrived 3 days ago, but he still couldn't accept what it said. His greatest fleet, 500 of the Empire's finest warships, had been destroyed in less than a minute. "Play the message again," he commanded. The holographic recording activated. Sub-Commander Nix appeared, his face pale with terror. He was the only survivor of the invasion force, having been in an escape pod collecting mineral samples from an asteroid when the attack happened. "My Emperor, the fleet is gone. All of it. I watched our ships simply fall apart. There was no battle, no explosions. One moment they were there, the next they were cosmic dust. The humans have weapons beyond our understanding." Valdric's forearms clenched into fists. Impossible. Advisor Quell 7 stepped forward from the shadows. As head of military intelligence, he had been the one to plan the invasion based on outdated information. "My Emperor, I have analyzed Sub-Commander Nix's sensor recordings. The destruction was caused by some kind of molecular disruption field. Our ships literally dissolved at the atomic level. How could we have missed such advanced technology? Because, my Emperor, the humans deliberately hid it from us. Their public technology is indeed primitive, but they have secret weapons that are far more advanced than anything in our empire." Valdric began pacing around his throne. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. No species had ever successfully resisted them. The idea that humans, could destroy an entire Zephyrian fleet was unthinkable. What of our spies on the human worlds? "Dead, my Emperor. All of them. It appears the humans have known about our surveillance for decades. They fed our agents false information while building their real defenses in secret." Another figure entered the throne room. General Vex Prime, commander of the Empire's remaining military forces, bowed before approaching the throne. "My Emperor, we have received disturbing news from across the galaxy. Word of the fleet's destruction has spread to other species. Some of our subject worlds are beginning to question our authority." "What do you mean?" "The Altarian colonies have stopped sending tribute. The Centauri mining worlds have declared independence. 12 other species have sent messages demanding new treaties, with better terms." Valdric's purple skin darkened with rage. "They dare to defy us now? Because of one defeat?" "My Emperor," Quell 7 said carefully, "it was not just any defeat. The humans destroyed our most powerful fleet without losing a single ship. Many species are now wondering if the humans might protect them from us." This was the nightmare scenario. The Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of worlds through fear and military superiority. If other species began to believe that humans could protect them, the Empire's power structure would collapse. "We must strike back immediately," Valdric declared. "Gather every remaining ship. Call in the reserve fleets from the outer territories. We will show the galaxy that the Zephyrian Empire cannot be challenged." "That home," Valdric declared. "My Emperor," General Vex Prime said hesitantly, "perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact first. The humans may be willing to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Valdric's voice rose to a roar. "No inferior species negotiates with the Zephyrian Empire. We rule through strength, not through begging." Quell 7 exchanged a worried glance with the general. The Emperor's pride was blinding him to the reality of their situation. "My Emperor, our remaining forces number only 200 ships. If the humans could destroy 500 ships in 30 seconds, what chance do 200 have? Then we call upon our allies in the Galactic Confederation, the Hegemony, the Collective, the Trade Federation. They will all unite against this human threat." "Actually, my Emperor," Quell 7 said quietly, "the early reports suggest that some Confederation members are more interested in studying human defensive capabilities than in fighting them." This was true, though Quell 7 didn't mention the full details. 3 major Confederation species had already sent secret messages to human colonies, requesting peaceful contact. The humans' demonstration of overwhelming defensive power, combined with their apparent restraint in not pursuing the fleeing escape pod, had impressed many galactic leaders. "Show me the full tactical analysis of the battle," Valdrick demanded. Quell 7 activated the holographic display. The recreation showed the Zephyrian fleet approaching Earth in perfect formation, confident and unstoppable. Then, in seconds, every ship began to disintegrate. "Note here, my Emperor." Quell 7 pointed to specific moments in the recording. The humans could have activated their weapons much earlier. When the one, in Emperor, they allowed our fleet to approach very close to their homeworld before defending themselves. What does that mean? It means they were completely confident in their defensive systems. They weren't worried about our fleet at any point during the approach. They let us get close enough to threaten their planet just to make a point. The full horror of the situation began to dawn on Valdrick. The humans hadn't struggled to defend themselves. They had casually swatted aside the Empire's greatest military force, like insects. General Vex Prime cleared his throat. "My Emperor, there is one more thing. The humans have sent a message to the Galactic Confederation." "What kind of message?" "A complete recording of our fleet's approach and destruction. They've also included all of their diplomatic attempts to avoid conflict. They're portraying themselves as the victims of unprovoked aggression." Valdrick sat heavily on his throne. His empire was crumbling, his military was in ruins. And somehow, the humans had managed to make themselves look like the innocent defenders while painting the Zephyrians as the aggressors. What do our allies say about this? Most are remaining neutral, my Emperor. Some are actually expressing support for the human position. Valdrick realized that his empire's 3,000-year reign of terror was ending. The humans had done more than destroy his fleet. They had destroyed the fear that held his empire together. But Valdrick was not ready to surrender. If the Zephyrian Empire was going to fall, he would make sure the humans paid for their victory. Ambassador Choi Hee-jin stood before the Galactic Confederation Council, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. She was the first human to address the galaxy's most powerful governing body, and the circumstances could not have been more dramatic. The Great Chamber on Nexus Prime was filled with representatives from 300 different species. Some looked humanoid. Others were completely alien. Floating energy beings, crystalline entities, creatures that existed in multiple dimensions at once. All of them were staring at her. Council Prime Zerion, an ancient being whose species had helped found the Confederation 5,000 years ago, called the session to order. "We are here to address the recent events in the Sol system," Zerion announced, his telepathic voice reaching every mind in the chamber. "Emperor Valdrick of the Zephyrian Empire has requested that humanity be declared a galactic threat. Ambassador Choi, you may present Earth's response." Choi Hee-jin had spent her entire career preparing for first contact with alien civilizations. She never imagined it would happen under these circumstances. She activated the holographic display and began her presentation. "Honored council members, Earth did not seek this conflict. 3 days ago, a Zephyrian invasion force of 500 warships approached our homeworld with obvious hostile intent. Despite multiple attempts at peaceful communication, they refused to withdraw. The display showed the complete recording of the Zephyrian fleet's approach. Every species in the chamber could see the massive military formation moving toward a planet with no visible defenses. We asked them to leave. We offered diplomatic contact. We explained that we wished no conflict with their people. All of our requests were ignored or mocked. Murmurs filled the chamber. Many council members had dealt with Zephyrian expansion over the centuries. The Empire's tactics were well known. Arrive with overwhelming force. Demand surrender. Destroy any resistance. When it became clear that the Zephyrian fleet intended to attack our world, We defended ourselves, using the minimum force necessary to neutralize the threat. Minimum force? Interrupted Ambassador Keth-9, a Zephyrian representative. You destroyed 500 warships in 30 seconds. Yes, Choi Hee-jin replied calmly. We could have activated our defenses much earlier, but we hoped diplomatic contact might still be possible. We waited until the last possible moment before defending ourselves. Captain Ryu Dong-wook entered the chamber at that moment, carrying additional evidence from Earth. His ship had made the journey from Sol in record time, using human, faster-than-light technology that surprised many species in the Council. Captain Ryu has brought additional documentation of the events, Choi Hee-jin announced. The captain approached the display and activated new recordings. This is the complete communications log between Earth Defense Command and the Zephyrian fleet. As you can see, we made multiple attempts to avoid bloodshed. The recordings played for all to hear. The human voices were calm and reasonable, asking only that the alien fleet withdraw from their system. The Zephyrian responses were arrogant and threatening, making it clear that they intended to conquer or destroy Earth. Furthermore, Captain Ryu continued, our defensive system specifically targeted only artificial materials. No natural objects in our solar system were harmed. This was a precision defensive action, not an indiscriminate attack. Council Prime Zerion studied the evidence carefully. Ambassador Choi, what can you tell us about Earth's defensive capabilities? We developed our defenses specifically to protect against unprovoked aggression. We have no interest in conquest or expansion at the expense of other species. However, we will defend ourselves and our colonies against any threat. Are you threatening this council? Demanded Ambassador Keth-9. Not at all. We are stating our position clearly, so there can be no misunderstanding. Earth seeks peaceful coexistence with all species. We offer friendship, trade, and mutual cooperation. But we will not allow ourselves to be conquered or destroyed. The chamber erupted in discussion as species representatives debated among themselves. Some were clearly impressed by humanity's restraint and defensive capabilities. Others worried about the implications of such advanced military technology. Ambassador Telix of the Altarian Federation stood to speak. I have a question for the Zephyrian representative. Why did your empire attack a species that had made no hostile actions against you? Keth-9 shifted uncomfortably. The humans had expanded into Zephyrian space without permission. This required correction. Correction through genocide? Asked Ambassador Mellon of the Centauri Alliance. The recordings clearly show that your fleet intended to destroy the human homeworld. The Zephyrian Empire maintains order in this sector of the galaxy, Keth-9 replied. Unauthorized expansion threatens that order. Whose authorization? Captain Ryu asked. Earth was never informed that this area of space was under Zephyrian control. We sent peaceful exploration missions and settled uninhabited worlds. We harmed no one. Council Prime Zerion called for quiet. The evidence is clear. The Zephyrian Empire initiated unprovoked aggression against a peaceful species. The human response, while devastating, was clearly defensive in nature. This council cannot allow such advanced military technology to exist unchecked. Keth-9 protested. The humans could threaten the entire galaxy. Could we? Choi Hee-jin asked. Our defensive system is exactly that. Defensive. It only activates when hostile forces enter our territory. We have made no moves against any other species, despite having this technology for 50 years. This revelation shocked the chamber. The humans had possessed weapons capable of destroying entire fleets for half a century, but had never used them aggressively. Ambassador Vorthan of the Crystal Collective spoke in musical tones. If the humans had conquest in mind, they would have used these weapons long ago. Instead, they built defenses and waited for others to threaten them. Exactly, Captain Ryu confirmed. Earth's entire military philosophy is based on protection, not aggression. We have no interest in ruling other species or taking their worlds. Council Prime, Zarian made his decision. This council finds that the Zephyrian Empire initiated unprovoked aggression against the human species. Earth's defensive response was both justified and restrained. The request to declare humanity a galactic threat is denied. The chamber filled with noise as species representatives reacted to the decision. Some applauded, others protested, and a few began immediately planning diplomatic contact with Earth. Keth 9 rose angrily. This council will regret this decision. The Zephyrian Empire will not forget this insult. Ambassador Keth 9, Zarian replied firmly. Your empire's membership in this confederation is now under review. A species that launches genocidal attacks against peaceful neighbors has no place in our alliance. As the session ended, dozens of species representatives approached Ambassador Choi Hye-jin, requesting private meetings. Word had already spread throughout the galaxy about Earth's advanced technology and restrained response to aggression. Captain Ryu leaned close to the ambassador. I think we're about to make a lot of new friends. Choi Hye-jin nodded, watching as the Zephyrian representative stormed out of the chamber. Yes, but we may have made some dangerous enemies as well. 6 months after the 32nd War, President An Ji-hoon stood before the newly formed Expanded Galactic Council on Earth. The Great Assembly Hall in Geneva had been quickly modified to accommodate representatives from 47 different species, all gathered to sign the new cooperation treaty. The galaxy had changed dramatically since the destruction of the Zephyrian fleet. What had started as a defensive action had triggered the largest political transformation in galactic history. Friends from across the stars, President An began, speaking in the common galactic language. Today, we establish something that has never existed before. A truly voluntary alliance based on mutual respect and shared values. Admiral Lee Min-jun, now promoted to head of Earth's expanded defense forces, watched from the side of the hall. The last 6 months had been a whirlwind of diplomatic contact, treaty negotiations, and careful military positioning. Earth had gone from an unknown species to the center of galactic politics almost overnight. Admiral, whispered Colonel Kim Tae-won, his new aide. The Centauri delegation is requesting another meeting about defensive technology sharing. Schedule it for next week. Lee Min-jun replied quietly. We're still working out the details of what we can safely share. The fall of the Zephyrian Empire had been swift and complete. Once word spread about their defeat at Earth, dozens of their subject worlds had declared independence. The Empire's remaining military forces had been too scattered and demoralized to maintain control. Within 3 months, the 3,000-year-old Zephyrian Empire had collapsed entirely. Emperor Valdric himself sat in exile on a remote agricultural world, stripped of power and abandoned by his former allies. But he was not forgotten. Dr. Seo Min-jae, Earth's new alien affairs coordinator, approached Admiral Lee with a datapad. Admiral, we've received an interesting message from Valdric's exile world. What does the former Emperor want now? He's not asking for anything, sir. He's offering information about other potential threats in the galaxy. It seems his defeat has given him a new perspective on things. This was unexpected. Lee Min-jun had expected Valdric to spend his exile plotting revenge, not offering to help his former enemies. What kind of threats? Automated defense systems left behind by extinct civilizations. Rogue AI networks in the galactic core. Species that make the Zephyrian Empire look peaceful. According to Valdric, there are things in this galaxy much more dangerous than anything we've encountered so far. President An continued his speech to the assembled delegates. The Confederation Treaty that we signed today represents more than just an alliance. It represents a new way of thinking about galactic civilization. 2. The audience included representatives from species that had suffered under Zephyrian rule for centuries. The Altarians, the Centaurians, the Crystal Collective, and dozens of others had all sent delegations to Earth to join the new alliance. Unlike previous galactic organizations, membership in our confederation is completely voluntary. Any species may leave at any time. Any species may join, provided they agree to our core principles of peaceful cooperation and mutual defense. Captain Park So-young, now Earth's Chief Diplomatic Security Officer, monitored the various alien delegations through hidden sensors throughout the building. Her job was to watch for any signs of hostile intent or espionage attempts. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Han Dong-hyuk from the security center, "we're detecting some unusual energy readings from the hegemony delegation." "What kind of readings?" "Looks like scanning equipment. They're probably trying to learn more about our technology." Park So-young wasn't surprised. Every species that came to Earth was curious about human defensive capabilities. The challenge was sharing enough information to build trust without revealing secrets that could be used against them. President An reached the climax of his speech. "Some of you have asked about Earth's military technology. You want to know if we will share our defensive systems with our allies. The answer is yes, but with conditions." This caused a stir among the alien delegations. Many had hoped for immediate access to the technology that had destroyed the Zephyrian fleet. "We will share defensive technology with any ally that faces genuine threats to their survival. However, we will not provide weapons that could be used for conquest or aggression. Earth's technology will protect, not destroy." Admiral Lee Min-jun had spent weeks working out the details of this policy with Earth's top scientists and military leaders. They had decided that some defensive technologies could be safely shared, while others would remain classified indefinitely. Dr. Kim So-young, now director of the Interspecies Technology Exchange, had developed a careful system for sharing human innovations. Basic shield technology, improved sensors, and non-lethal defensive systems could be provided to trusted allies. The quantum molecular destabilization system that had destroyed the Zephyrian fleet would remain exclusively human. As the ceremony concluded, delegates from dozens of species lined up to sign the treaty. Each signature represented a species choosing cooperation over conquest, peace over expansion. "Mr. President," Admiral Lee approached as the last delegate finished signing, "we've received a request from the Galactic Confederation. They want to formally dissolve their old organization and join our new alliance." This was the final victory. The old Confederation, which had tolerated Zephyrian aggression for centuries, was admitting that humanity's approach was superior. What about the remaining Zephyrian territories? Most have already joined our alliance or declared neutrality. The few holdout worlds are requesting protection from potential revenge attacks. President An nodded. "Grant the protection requests. No species should suffer for the crimes of their former leaders." Later that evening, as the diplomatic celebrations continued, Admiral Lee Min-jun stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, looking out at Earth. The planet looked the same as always. But everything had changed. Captain Choi Min-ho joined him at the window. "Admiral, do you think we did the right thing? 6 months ago, we were unknown. Now we're basically running galactic civilization. We didn't choose this responsibility," Lee Min-jun replied. "But we can't abandon it now. Too many species are depending on us to maintain peace. The intelligence reports suggest there are still threats out there, things that make the Zephyrian Empire look friendly. Then we'll face them the same way we face the Zephyrians, with preparation, wisdom, and just enough force to protect what matters." On Earth below, children from a dozen different species played together in the first interspecies school, while their parents worked on joint projects that would benefit the entire galaxy. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their ability to bring out the best in others. The 32nd War had ended one age and begun another, an age where cooperation mattered more than conquest, where protection was valued over power, and where the smallest species could defend itself against the largest empire. The humans had kept their promise. They had defended themselves without becoming the very thing they fought against.